Hello, second grade. This is Module 7, Lesson 1. And our objective today is I can sort and record data into a table using up to 4 categories and use category counts to solve word problems. So we're going to start off by playing a game. It's called What Am I? So I want you to try and guess what I am by me giving you these clues. So I have 2 legs, wings, feathers, and I can fly. So what am I? Is this what you guessed? Good job. Give yourself a kiss on the brain if you guessed the bird. So let's take a look at this chart. This is a chart of animal characteristics. So if we look over here underneath bird, we find the bird. We know that birds have feathers, they have wings, they have 2 legs, they lay eggs, and they're warm-blooded. Do all of these things up here that I described describe these animal characteristics of a bird? It says 2 legs. Oh, there's 2 legs right there. Wings, that's on the list. Feathers, oh, that's on the list. And I can fly. Okay, so if it has wings, then we know it can fly. Okay, so that would go into the bird category. Alright, so we got our chart here again, and I have another animal here. Now you probably know what it is, but let's use this chart to make sure we know what it is. So it looks like this animal has some scales. Well, there's 2 categories here that have scales. So that narrows it down. We know it's not a bird and we know it's not a mammal. So it's either a reptile or a fish. Let's see. It says that it has fins and fish and dry skin. Does it have dry skin? Doesn't look like it has dry skin. But fins. It looks like it has fins. So we know that this is a fish. Very good. We also know that fish have gills. They lay eggs and they are cold-blooded. So what we can do is we can use the animal characteristics of this chart here and fill in the blanks of these sentence stems. So you can say a blank has blank and blank. You could use it can blank, and we can say it is blank. So go ahead and take a moment, push pause and then push play, and fill in these sentence stems on your own by using this chart. Okay, so you should have gone ahead and filled out these sentence stems using the chart. This is how I filled it out. Now, there's other options of how you could fill this out. So let's go over the ones that I did, and then we'll go over how you could have filled it out also. So a blank has blank and blank. So I put a fish has scales and fins. You could have also said that a fish has fins and gills, or scales and gills, however order you wanted to, as long as you had 2 of 3 of these. Now, it can. You could write, it can lay eggs. That's what I wrote down. You could write, it can swim, because we know that fish can swim. And then down here, it is cold-blooded is what I wrote. Or you could have wrote, it is a fish, because we know it's a fish. And that is also on the chart here. Okay, so now I have a bunch of animals down here, but I need to organize them a little bit better. I just kind of have a big mess right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a chart, and I'm going to organize them by bird, mammal, reptile, and fish. Those are my categories. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 categories that I can sort these into. So let's look at the penguin first here. And thinking back to the first chart that we saw, keep that in mind. A penguin can lay 2 eggs at a time. So if we know that a penguin can lay eggs and that it has wings, what category are we going to put it into? The bird. Very good. So let's put a mark there. We're going to look at the polar bear next. The polar bear has thick coats of insulated fur that protects against the Arctic cold. But we already learned about all that because we just learned about that in Journeys. So a polar bear is a mammal. So we're going to put a mark there. Next one is this little Nemo type thing here. It looks like a clownfish. So the clownfish has scales, fins, and gills. So where are we going to put that in? We're going to put it under the fish. Next, let's look at this little green snake here. This is a rough green snake. It lays 4 to 12 sticky eggs under a flat stone or log. And I accidentally clicked, so it already gave us the answer. A snake is a reptile because it lays eggs and it has scales. So we put that mark there already. Next thing we're going to look at is this little brown owl here. A barn owl usually lays 4 to 7 eggs at a time. What category can we put this owl under? It is a bird. Very good. Now let's look at this little Arctic fox. He's so cute. A female Arctic fox can give birth to a litter of up to 14 pups. Wow, so Arctic foxes don't lay eggs, so we know that it's not a bird or a reptile or a fish. So that means it is a mammal. Next, we're going to look at this little seahorse here. A male seahorse carries eggs in brood pouches. They swim using a small fin in their back. Okay, so if it has a fin and it swims, we know that it is a fish. So let's put that there. Let's look at the dolphin here. So this is a bottlenose dolphin. And dolphins have lungs. They breathe air through a blowhole at the top of their head. So if they breathe air, we know that they're not a fish because they don't have gills. So they also don't lay eggs. So that means they're not a bird or a reptile. So we can put the dolphin under the mammal. Let's look at this brown bear next. The brown bear mothers give birth to cubs during hibernation. They don't even have to wake up. So they give birth, so that means they're not laying eggs. So we know it's not a bird, a reptile, or a fish. So it must be a mammal. Let's put a mark there. The next is this little rabbit here. Mother rabbits feed their babies milk once or twice a day. So if the mother rabbit is feeding their babies milk, we know that it is a mammal. So that is one of the characteristics of a mammal. Next, we're going to look at this snake. This is a California mountain king snake. This snake is a cold-blooded animal with scales. So we know it has scales, so it's going to have to be a reptile or a fish. But it doesn't have fins, so it is a reptile. So let's put a mark there. Let's look at this. This is a gecko. A leopard gecko. Leopard geckos are cold-blooded and absorb sunlight for warmth. So we know that it's cold-blooded, so it's either going to be a reptile or a fish, but it doesn't have fins, so that means that it's a reptile. So let's put a mark there. Next is an iguana. A green iguana often lives in trees, but comes to the ground to lay eggs. So it lays eggs, so it's either a bird, a reptile, or a fish. But it doesn't have wings, and it doesn't have fins. So what does that make it? A reptile. So let's put a mark. We're going to look at this rooster here. These warm-blooded creatures are known for crowing at dawn. So a rooster is warm-blooded, so we know that it's not a reptile or a fish. Does it have feathers? Yes, it does. So it is obviously a bird because mammals do not have feathers. So let's put the mark under birds. This is a bull shark. So the bull shark's gills allow them to live in the shallow, warm waters of the ocean. So it has gills and it has fins, which makes it a fish. So let's put it up here. And the next one, we're going to look at this little tiny brown field mouse. Female field mice give birth to 4 to 7 babies at a time. So if they give birth to their babies, it means that their babies don't come out of eggs, so we know it's not a bird, a reptile, or a fish. So that means that the little mouse is a mammal. So let's put a mark there. Next, we're going to look at this orca whale. A baby orca or calf is born tail first and may weigh about 400 pounds. That's a big baby right there. 400 pounds. Okay, so it has fins, and it says that it gives birth, that the baby is born from first, so it doesn't come out of an egg. So we know that it's either a fish or a mammal. Now, orcas do not have gills. So that means that they're not a fish. They are a mammal. They have to come up to get to breathe air, just like the dolphin. So let's put a mark under the mammals. The next one here is a little seal. This is a baby harp seal. And seal mothers give birth in the spring and can identify their babies by their smell. That's an interesting fact. So this little baby's mom can identify her by her smell. So I guess every baby has a different smell. So let's see. It says that seal mothers give birth. So we know it's not a bird, a reptile, or a fish. So that makes this little harp seal a mammal. Next up is this little sea turtle. It's one of my favorites, along with dolphins. Sea turtle, female, lay eggs in a nesting hole in the sand. So we know that it lays eggs, so we know it's either a reptile or a fish. We know that it has fins, it looks like. But it doesn't just stay in the water, so it doesn't have gills. Sea turtles have to come up to breathe air, so that makes it a reptile. And the last little guy here, this is a British robin. Females lay 4 to 6 pale blue sparkled eggs in a nest in the spring. So their eggs aren't white, they're blue. So let's see. We know they lay eggs because our fact was that they lay blue eggs. So it's either a bird, a reptile, or a fish. Well, it doesn't have gills and it doesn't swim, so it's not a fish. And it doesn't have scales, so it's not a reptile. It has feathers, so that makes it a bird. Very good. Awesome job, guys. So we have our chart here, and we have this all organized. So now that we have our chart made, we can actually answer these questions. How many categories does this table have? Well, a category would be these things up here. The bird, the mammal, the reptile, and the fish. So how many do we have? 4. Good job. Now, how many animals did we sort all together? We had quite a few animals. So all we needed to do to answer this question, how many animals did we sort all together, we just need to count the tally marks. So count up those tally marks and write your answer. Did you count up 4 plus 8 plus 5 plus 3? Which all together is 20. So you could count all the tally marks, or you could have just written out a long addition problem here like I did. The next question is, how many more birds and mammals are there than reptiles and fish? Are we going to add or subtract to figure this out? It says how many more, right? We need to subtract. So first we need to add up how many birds and mammals there are together. So let's see, there's a group of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's 12 altogether here. And how many reptiles and fish do we have? Here's a group of 5, so let's start at 5, 6, 7, 8. So 12 minus 8 would be our number sentence. And what is 12 minus 8? Go ahead and figure that out on your own. Did you get 4? How did you solve this? I put 8 in my head and counted up to 12. So put 8 in your head, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and our answer is 4. So how could the table change if we counted 4 more birds? So how many birds do we have all together here? Well, let's go look at the birds here. Looks like we have 4. And how many are they wanting us to add? They wanted us to add 4 more. So 4 plus 4, what is 4 plus 4? 8. Good job. Now it is your turn. They have a nice little chart here for you to use. It says use the animal classification table to answer the following questions about the types of animals in the local zoo. So here's the classification table that you're going to use. These are the questions you are going to answer. You're going to answer all of these questions. You're going to seesaw it to me. Good luck.